Hi, and then welcome to this tutorial for my tool called xNormalBatcher. So let's start it. Yep, here we go. Right, so here you have the main settings for the tool. The lower part is for the xNormal settings, and this part just here is just for the tool itself. This bit, this tab is for the suffix manager, where you can add or remove suffix you don't use. Those suffixes would be then listed here for each category of items. And finally, the files tab, where all the files found by the tool are listed. Right, so let's add some objects to bake. So here I have my one folder with all my assets into it. The high poly, the cage, low poly, etc, etc. And here I have my folder set up here by xNormalBatcher with the cage, high poly, low poly folder, and the map folder where everything is baked. Right, so I need to copy, for my first example, just this little box here, which is a high poly box baking on a low poly box. So I'm gonna copy everything, put it there, and move things accordingly into the rightful folder. And boom! It looks in for it and finds a box that fits an item that fits the naming convention I set up here. Because it's not set up as prefix, because I'm using suffixes here, so _L, it finds it, but it can't find the _I box and the _C box. So let's find why. Oh, it's because my box is named iPoly, so we could change it here, or we could just maybe rename it here. Here we go, finds it. Same with the cage. And boom, it's green. Means you can go and bake. But wait, that's not the size I want to use. I could change that maybe to 1024. So we want high-res texture just for a box. Let's bake and try if it works. Seems good so far. And it's almost down. Yeah. Great. See, so now it's finding some maps that fits the name and the extension. So it's gonna say, oh, it's done, it's baked. And you can see we have now an object space, tangent space, and my occlusion. It's doing both because I ticked this little box here, which actually bakes, do two separate bakes, one for the tangent and one for the object space normal. And it actually renames properly the file so you can find them fairly easily. So I'm just gonna untick that for my next example. Here, if I untick this, it won't care about finding a cage file and would just say OK automatically. Let's put it back. Right, so now I want to bake all those high polys onto this single low poly, and you will also see that they are named, the high poly are named differently than the low poly and the cage. We're gonna place those into the respectful folder. Here you can see the XML files created by xNormalBatcher. We are just simple setting files that you can actually load in xNormal manually if you want. So I'm gonna put my items here. I'm gonna put my cage there. Oh, it's finding it. Let's put the low poly, find the low poly and the cage. Let's put the high poly into it. So still no high poly found. That's because I'm using the high extension. Oh, I use high extension. What happened? I lost everything. What's going on? Not to worry. It's just because xNormalBatcher use the folder with most items, here the HiPoly folder, which contains 5 items that fits the naming convention, and use that as its main folder. And from that main folder, it tries to find the other 2 that fits. So it's using HiPoly and tries to find their equivalent files in low-poly and cage folder. By default, if all folders have the same number, it's using low-poly as the main folder. But right, that's not what we want to do. We don't want separate bakes. We want to bake all those onto the low-poly. So how are we gonna do this? It's very simple. First, in the HiPoly folder, you need to create a subfolder that will be named like the low-poly, but with the HiPoly suffix that you're using. So I'm using my character, hi. There, that's one. Then you put all your items into the subfolder. And you can see, boom, it switched back to the low-poly folder as main folder. And it says you can't find any high objects that fits the naming, although we have the folder. It's because it's looking for OBJ files and not folders. Now the last step I need to do is just tick this box, and it's green. What this ticking the box do is basically it will take the base name, add the suffix for HiPoly, but look for a subfolder, and then look for any files into it that follows the extension and the suffix that you're using. So, but they can be named anything you want. It's not dependent, or it doesn't have to be called my character, blah blah blah. It can be armor, boots, gloves, legs, and sword, for example. Just for the sake of this example, I didn't create an actual character with separate parted. It's just the box duplicated with different names. So it's just gonna bake and result in the same map here, with 5 different HiPoly boxes overlapping each other. So let's try. I can actually remove those because they don't not exist except this one. Here we go. And then we can say bake. And done. Let's check it. My character, normals, awesome character, isn't it? And voila. One last thing. Here, if we want the box to work, I can change high here. Yep. And now I can use the bake hole or use the bake selected. You can just set up items individually. Like if you have lots of them, you can just select deselect and use the select in here, or bake hole if you want to bake everything. It will skip objects that are not valid, obviously. Here you can set up the map size you want to use. Like let's say I want to use 256 by 256. Here we go. Here you can set up the low mesh settings and high mesh settings globally for all the items, or you can do it individually by right-clicking on the objects and do it here. So if I want to set up my ray distance to 5 for everything, hop, it's now, if I can check it by, and then set this one to 8 for any, and if I check this one, it should be 5 and not 8. And I can come back here. If you click cross instead of OK, it will cancel and not apply what you just did. And voila, that concludes my little tutorial. Thank you. Also, no, wait, last thing, when you have several maps that you have baked and you want to merge them in Photoshop, FunkyBunnies on Polycount has created a script for that. I will put a link in the description down below, as well as a link to the thread on polycount for my tool when you can ask some help. Thank you. Goodbye.